here's the big reveal of the piston. Yeah, I mean, you can see just absolutely destroyed it. Uh-oh. All right, let me grab the camera and you'll see this as I'm going through it. She's looking real healthy for sure. Okay. That's what we like to see right there. Hey guys, happy Memorial Day. Out here just playing with the car a little bit. I wanted to give you guys an update. So in the last video, I was talking about how I was getting oil into the intake, and I was talking a little bit about the problems I was having with the blow-by. I'm pretty sure I solved that issue, and I don't have it with me right now, but of course I'm running the Holley Sniper, and I had a pretty small air filter on there, and I think with this being a 383, that small air filter, it's kind of choking the engine, so there's going to be a lot of vacuum in there. So it was basically in the higher RPMs, all the oil was going to the top end of the engine, and then that small air filter, there was just a lot of vacuum inside of there, and I think it was just vacuuming oil straight out of the valve cover. So what I did is I just popped the hose off, put a rag around it, so that way it wouldn't be affected by the vacuum from the intake, and then was driving it around. The car was doing really good. It's actually, I drove it longer than I ever have, and it was running real good. Probably drove it for an hour and a half or so. I've got a couple little clips for it, and on this Memorial Day, I mean, it's beautiful outside for it. It's a perfect day for it. But I had my hopes up because this is the best this car has actually ever ran, and did a small pull in it right there at the end, and it started white smoking really bad, and pretty sure that we heard a head gasket pretty good. So the engine actually, it quit running. It was bad enough, so I'm sure enough coolant probably got in there that it just couldn't run anymore, and it maybe even hydrolocked it. I haven't even pulled the plugs yet, but with it doing that, I mean, I think my easiest option might just be to pull the engine, see if it maybe washed out any bearings or hurt anything that way. I feel like that's going to be my safest bet. Pretty discouraging because I mean, I've rebuilt this engine myself, and you know, had it in there. It's pretty much new. It hasn't been running that long. It's already hurt a head gasket. I haven't really figured out why that happened yet. I mean, it seemed to be running good. It sounded good and everything. But I guess the plan now is probably pull this engine back out, tear it down, see what happened. Yeah, I mean, it's been kicking my butt, but like I said before, sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to working on cars in general, I feel. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated and wish me the best. All right, I wanted to give you guys a little backstory on this Trans Am that I've been working on, so maybe you can understand a little bit better on what's going on here. So what happened is about probably 4 or 5 years ago. It's been a while. I had a white Fox body, and I had a 418 cubic inch Windsor in it with a turbo on it, and I worked on that car constantly. I didn't really know anything about cars at the time, hardly knew what a distributor was, and I started working on that car and just always trying to make it work. It was a blow-through carb setup, and really, my for my knowledge at the time, it was over my head. I worked on that car a lot, and somebody I knew somebody that had this black Trans Am, and he was like, "Hey, would you be willing to look at this car and maybe work on it? It's an old 1983 Trans Am." And I was like, "Heck yeah, that sounds cool. I'll go look at it." So I looked at the car, and it was a original 305 carbureted, and I don't remember how many miles it had on it exactly, but the engine was pretty wore out, and in typical 305 fashion, it was extremely slow. Car had a 700 R4 transmission in it. So over the course of the next few months, my plan was to freshen up the engine, but if you know, the 350 block and the 305 block are pretty much the same. So I was like, if I'm going to swap an engine, I might as well put a 350 in it. So me and my buddy would work on that after work, and just work on the car late at night, a lot of times 11 o'clock at night, just chipping away at this thing, trying to put it together. I got a 350 Chevy out of a 97 Tahoe. Of course, I wanted that because it had the Vortec heads on it, which were, from my understanding, the best flowing cast iron heads that GM had for those engines. So I got a set of those heads on it, just a 2-bolt main 350 block, and started working on swapping it into the car. I got a carbureted intake for it. I was swapping it to EFI at the time. The Trans Am still had the factory V-belt system on it, so I was trying to retain that. Long story short, I mean, we finally got everything put in there and everything done. And we were test driving it, taking it down the interstate, and we were doing a pull in it, and the V-belt flew off, which then comes off of the water pump, and then that overheated that engine. And so I was able to get it back home, put the V-belt on it. I was testing some other things, and somewhere along the lines, the fuel line ended up popping off of the Holley Sniper system, because I didn't have it secured on there correctly, and the car engine bay caught on fire, which I showed in another video. I mean, it burned the engine bay up pretty good, and before it had burned, the transmission had also gone out on the car. So now I got a guy's Trans Am that I'm trying to fix up for him, and the original transmission's blowed up. Swapping an engine into it, and the engine bay burned. So obviously you can imagine that looks great on me. I'm trying my best, to put it together back then. So over the course of time, I mean, life still happens. So I'm trying to put this thing together, and I mean, a lot has happened, in the time that I've been working on this thing. But I swapped it to a serpentine belt system after I took the engine out. I sanded down the engine bay. I got a parts car for it. I got a new wiring harness for it. Put that engine back in. It was bored out 20 over, which bored out 30 over comes out to like a 355. So it was just short of whatever a 355 is. Right, so it had the 355 in it. That's the motor where the serpentine belt came off of, which overheated. So what I didn't know is in that process it had also blown a head gasket, but the car had burned down so shortly after it threw that V-belt, I was never able to drive it much to even know that had happened. You can see I'm really chasing my tail here with this thing. I mean, a lot of it might just boil down to lack of inexperience, but I've definitely learned a lot over the years with it. So once I got the engine bay and everything all painted up in it, I got the engine put in there, the new wiring harness. I got everything working. I was out driving it one day, and coolant, since the head gasket was blown, coolant seeped through the piston rings into the oil pan, which diluted the oil, and then it washed the bearings, so it got a rod knock. So pretty much a brand new engine with a rod knock. So I was like, okay. Pulled that engine out, and it still has the Vortec heads, which is a whole other story, because those heads are known for cracking. So, you know, this has a good set of Vortec heads that was hard to find because they're so prone to cracking. So pulled that engine out, took it apart. Of course, since it had overheated from the V-belt incident, one of those heads was cracked. I brought them to a machine shop, had them looked over. So got a new head for it, and since it had spun a rod bearing, I mean, it destroyed the factory crank and everything. So I was like, all right, if I'm going to rebuild this thing, I got to get a crankshaft, I got to get pistons, rods, and all that stuff. You know, it's almost a no-brainer, since I got this good, nice bored out fresh block, that I'll go ahead and stroke it to a 383. So I bought the stroker kit for it, you know, pistons, rings, crankshaft. It's all balanced, ready to go. Put that engine together, and that's the engine that is in the car right now. So get that engine in there. In the process, I swap it to a hydraulic roller camshaft, where previously it was a hydraulic flat tappet. So I got that going on for it, and I mean, the car runs good, sounds good, it's quick, it's awesome. I talked a little bit about the Holley Sniper system that I swapped it to. Having trouble with it since pretty much day one. When that engine bay burned, it also burned the first Holley Sniper that was on there, and so I had to buy a whole second Holley Sniper. I feel like I kind of messed up there, because that was probably a good opportunity just to go carbureted. Now, knowing what I know now, hindsight's 2020. So I got the Holley Sniper on there, and I'm blaming it on that, because last week, and literally in my previous video, I swapped out the internal fuel pressure regulator for an external fuel pressure regulator. Well, it's pretty much a brand new Holley Sniper, and that internal regulator got so bad where the car wouldn't even run anymore. And I didn't know it was bad until it wouldn't idle anymore. So my best guess as to what happened with this engine is, I was doing a pull in it, that internal regulator wasn't working as good as it should. It's supposed to regulate the fuel to 60 psi, and it obviously didn't do its job. Motor leaned out, burned up a bunch of rings, and this is the result. So hope you guys enjoy this video. You know, I'm working on this car, trying to get it going, and see what happens. Enjoy. Coming along, guys. I got the intake off, the valve cover, header, all the Holley accessories. Figured show you all a little bit. Taking the head bolts out. Won't be long and we'll have this head off, and we'll be able to check out its head gasket, which will be nice. I'm not going to be able to reach those. Another short little update. Basically pulled that head off. I mean, you guys can see, look at that valley tray right there. I mean, it's milky. Like, that's a head gasket. I pulled some spark plugs out of this head too, and a couple of them look pretty clean. So maybe it had blown more than just the other head gasket. I'm not sure yet. Over here, I'm laying all my stuff out. Distributor, intake, stuff like that. Here are my push rods and rockers. I lay them all out in order. This is a hydraulic lifter cam, so I'm keeping everything in order. That way, when I go to put it back together, everything goes back in the same cylinders. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet. I'm almost tempted to put those heads over here on my mill, and I can just, make a fixture, bolt them down on my mill, and then write a program where it goes and it cuts around the combustion chamber, and then you just put in a TIG wire for like a, they call it O-ringing heads. In the diesel world, as far as the 6-liter goes, that's a big upgrade for them. These here, they're just head bolts. I want to say I got ARP ones. I don't really remember. Maybe I'm trying to look on here to see if it says it. Yeah, so these are ARP head bolts. Obviously, it's not the studs. The studs are supposed to, technically, I think they clamp a little bit more pressure on them. I got the bolts because, I didn't really think that this motor was that hot, but as far as power goes, where I'd have head gasket issues. Not exactly sure what caused it yet, but I'm going to get this head pulled off of here. I was running a mid-grade gas versus where I could have been running premium 93. I didn't really hear any detonation up top in the pool and the RPMs, but I guess that's always possible. But I'll see what I can come up with and get this one head off for starters, see if that head gasket's blown, and then I'm going to go ahead pull that other head off because I'm almost positive it's blown. These Vortec heads, they're just cast iron. They're known for cracking, so I'm crossing my fingers and hope that they didn't crack. Another option is it's like I could go to an aluminum head, but what kind of sucks about that is that these Vortec heads, they have a special bolt pattern compared to your typical Chevy 350, where it's 2 bolts here, 2 bolts there, 2 in that corner, and 2 in that corner. I don't really like that design, obviously, because it leaves the complete center of the intake unbolted down, which is prone to leaking. But basically, if I went to aluminum heads, I'd have to get a whole new aluminum intake. And, that's just obviously more money. So I'm hoping I can make these Vortec heads work. But let me tear them off of here and keep you guys updated. All right, I get the film rolling. I'm going to try and attempt to pull this head off live so then you guys can see a little bit about what I'm seeing. I don't have a fancy tripod or anything, so you're going to have to deal with what you got. Let's see. Oh, okay, it's already loose. Figured I'd have to break the seal. Let's see if I can manhandle this thing off of here. Uh-oh. All right, let me grab the camera and you'll see this as I'm going through it. She's looking real healthy for sure. Okay. That's what we like to see right there. Metal on the pistons. Oh, look at that little puppy. Nice. So, we got a blowed up piston. Look at that. Part of the piston ring. So, that would explain a blow-by issue. This gasket over here, I mean, look at that thing. It got hot. Up there. It got hot. So, I would say quite clearly this thing was detonating like crazy. Which, I don't know, I'm kind of surprised because I didn't really hear it a whole lot, but I guess it's the silent killer sometimes, huh? So I'm sure that the other side is very similar. If I mean that right there, I mean, come on, like I gotta pull the engine either way. I don't have anything taken apart on that side. I mean, I still got like the accessories and everything on it. I might pull the valve. Oh well, I will pull the valve cover and stuff apart on that side. But either way, I mean, this engine has to come out. It has to come apart. I'll have to inspect the cylinder walls on it, see if it's worth rebuilding. I'm not really, I don't know. Like, this has happened before with this vehicle. Like, I get so close and then, you know, something catastrophic happens. I mean, I don't know. It happens. You know what I mean? Seems to happen pretty often with this here. You know, you ever seen a head gasket that bad? That's a pretty obvious sign. I don't know. I'll update you guys here in a little bit, but I mean, come on, you gotta love news like that, right? Oh well, I guess. I mean, it's all part of the process. Let's keep working and see what we can get. Happy Memorial Day. Alright, so I'm getting ready to pull the second head live. I don't have a fancy tripod or anything, so I'm going to set this camera down, pull this head off, and then show you guys. So unfortunately, you're going to be looking up at the sky for a second, but bear with me. Here we go. See what kind of carnage I did to this one. It's always fun to see, you know, never fun to fix, but always fun to see. Big heavy cast iron heads. Guess luckily it's not a diesel. There we go. All right, let's take a look. So, got the head gasket. Looks a lot better than the other one did. This one may not have even been blown. Which, I mean, it don't matter. It's got to come apart either way. Take a look in the cylinder here. Now, if you look, you've got, let me try and see if I can turn my flash on here. So that piston, it's like pretty dark color. That one's a pretty dark color, but if you look at that one's pretty clean. Now when I pulled the spark plug, that spark plug on this cylinder was also pretty clean, which generally would be an indication of, if it was like a blowed head gasket, it would basically be steam cleaning that specific cylinder. This one here looks a little bit more like the first two, and you can ignore the coolant in there. That's just from pulling the head. The coolant from the water jackets gets in there. But here we go. So I just felt my hand down in this coolant here, and we have more piston ring. Oh, that's lovely. Cool. So clean this out a little bit more. I heard another piece hit the starter. Let's see if I can find a rag. There we go. Dry that one. Dry that one. Oh, look at that. Wow. Looks like it didn't even like completely break the top of the piston off. It looks like it almost just stabbed up into the top of the piston. Wow. Huh. Never seen anything like, or maybe that's just a piece that's smashed in there. I'd say that's what it is. Yeah. Cool. This one, I'll clean it off a little bit more. I'd say The other thing too about like these Vortec heads, it's a cast iron head, and judging by how hot all of these cylinders got, probably from leaning out, because my best judgment is that Holley Sniper, it had that internal fuel regulator. In one of my last videos, I went ahead, I threw that internal fuel regulator away, and I replaced it for an external fuel regulator. Well, I'm thinking this is probably all just a result of that. You know, I was probably doing a pull, that thing was slowly failing, it leaned out, and you know what happens is you get detonation, and that detonation causes an extreme amount of heat, and then those piston rings are basically expanding from all that heat until they finally get so much heat in them that they touch, and then they don't have anywhere to go. And then like on the other side here, that's a great example where they don't have anywhere to go, so they just break that piston, you know, and it ends up putting a hole in it like that. You know, that's my best bet so far as to what happened to this engine, is that internal fuel regulator failed, causing it not to get enough fuel, leaning out, detonating, which made it get extremely hot, and then we run into fun stuff like this. So I just took this head off, I mean, because I was pretty close. I still gotta, obviously, I gotta pull this engine, tear it down, see if the block is salvageable. It's already bored 20 over, but we'll see. I don't know. I mean, that's pretty bad that both banks were like that, but that would explain, you know, the blow by I was getting. It would explain why the engine was getting hot. You know, it ran good, it was fast, but finally, you know, once I would say those rings go through an extremely hot heat cycle, you basically heat treat them in a sense, which makes them extremely brittle. And then when they're that brittle, I wouldn't doubt when I take this engine apart, if even some of these pistons that look good, you know, those rings might be in their ringlands still, but they're just all cracked to pieces just because they become so brittle from the heat cycles. That's just a theory, but I could see where that definitely happened. But cool.
Yummy.
That's a bloodhead gasket if I've ever seen one.
Have you ever seen one?
A couple times. Now it's sludge.
Why does that sound so hollow?
Let's go over the pan.
Ew.
Toast. Yank it. You gotta be a man to get that off, John.
Give me a screwdriver. Pretty.
It does look pretty.
Yeah.
Any skirts broken?
Oh, you can't tell until you pull the rod.
Which one was
They
the bad
always
piston?
break right here. We're talking about skirts or crank?
Skirts. He's a
Skirts
little worried
and
about a
piston.
skirt.
No, I'm more worried about that crank.
She looks pristine.
Zach's buddy had every single rod cap break in half on him.
Alright.
Pretty uneventful.
was worth.
All right, so we got the block all tore down, got the crank out of it and everything. Inspecting it. We went ahead and we ran a hone through it here just to clean up any blemishes. The cylinder walls, they don't look terrible. I mean, that one there, it has some, I think it looks worse than it feels. It's pretty smooth. Overall, I don't think that they're terrible. Um, I'm still going to bore mic them, make sure that they measure within spec and everything else like that. But overall, not terrible. The bearings, they all look good. The rod bearings, they were all looked really good. So that's a good sign. I won't be reusing the bearings. There was one of the main cap bearings had a groove in it. It'll be replaced, but I'll have to polish the crank a little bit. But it was just on one of them. If I can find it here, yeah. You can see this one. I'm sure the oil pump probably sent something through it. It did leave a scratch on the main journal. But I feel like if I'll try and polish that out, and that should be good. Now the pistons, that's where it was catastrophic. So this is cylinder 1. You got a big chunk missing there. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I got the chunk right here. That's that second ringland in the piston, and then there was a few more of them like that. I'll show you guys the one that was in that first cylinder head that I pulled where it was really bad. If I can find it here. The camshaft, it looked great. Cam bearings were all good. So overall, I mean, as far other than the pistons being bad, it wasn't, I guess you could say, terrible. But here's the big reveal of the piston. Yeah, I mean, you can see just absolutely destroyed it. You can see how that second ringland broke. And with that second ringland being broken, you know, originally I was talking about that Holley Sniper possibly of leaning the engine out, but generally if the engine leans out, I think you'll normally see like where it breaks the top ringland, because that creates a lot of heat, and then your top ring will actually butt together and it has nowhere to go, so it'll just break the top of the top ringland on the piston. Whereas on these pistons, it's mainly the second ringland that broke, and that's going to typically be more timing and fuel related. So I could have been running with the compression that this engine was, it was pretty sure it was around 10.5 to 1. You know, maybe the fuel wasn't the greatest. Timing, you know, I assume the timing was off, so there's not really anything wrong with the assembly of the engine. I feel like it was more of the tune-up that was in the engine. But that would explain the blow-by issue I was also getting with it. I'm sure a couple of the second ringlands were just broken and didn't really, other than blow-by, it didn't show up much until it, you know, catastrophically failed on that one cylinder. So right now the plan is I'm going to take these pistons off of the rods. Everything else, I mean, the rods and everything are still good. I'm going to inspect the cylinder heads, pull a couple valves out, make sure that they're not terrible. I'm thinking I'll probably get new pistons for it after I verify that the head and the block and everything is good, which I'm thinking it will be. I'll probably buy new pistons for it. These pistons are a 12cc dish. I can get the same piston, but with an 18cc dish. I'll probably do that because with the 18cc dish, I'll be lowering the compression a little bit, and that'll just give me a little bit more leeway as far as timing and what kind of fuel I'm running. I feel like that's probably the better route to go, just if I can bump the compression down a little bit. Also, you saw those head gaskets I was running. Those were a pretty cheap head gasket. I'm wondering if that contributed to the problem as far as maybe being like a hot spot, which could cause pre-detonation. So I'll probably go with more of like a multi-layer head gasket versus those, which just came in the gasket kit. And then when I put this thing back together, I'm really going to be dialed in on my tune-up. I've seen some people just lock the distributor out. I might just lock the timing out completely where it doesn't vary by the timing curve that's in the ECM of the car. But that's my thought process so far, now that this engine's all tore apart. But yeah, that'll be the end of this video, and then I'll update you guys probably next week on what the plan is, and probably try and get some parts ordered and start putting this thing back together so we can get her back out on the road. I mean, this engine, when it was running, it ran good. You know, I was very happy with how it ran. So, you know, I could always swap in another stock 350, but if you've got this good foundation of parts, you know, I'm doing my best to reuse it, because it's a, you know, pretty, or it was a pretty fresh engine. But yeah, that's where we're at now. We got it all tore down and cleaned up all the tools. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.